Hello, this is Thomas Donald Jacobs for Paperboys on Thursdays. I know it's been a while since I posted. A lot going on, same for everyone. I wasn't intending on posting again until sometime after next week, because next week, fingers crossed, is when I will have my last surgery. And apart from taking testosterone, that will be it for all of the medical stuff. I'm looking forward to all of that being behind me. So why am I posting today? Because I saw something yesterday that pissed me off. But I have to start with an apology. Despite all the tweets, and I've seen them all, and I have seen all of my friends get angry and upset. Despite all of that, I, up until yesterday, was still making up excuses for J.K. Rowling. I always had a little story, and even if I didn't say it out loud, it was playing in my head. Someone else was running her Twitter account, and JK didn't know. But she would find out, and the situation would be rectified. Or, and it happens, JK accidentally liked or retweeted that transphobic crap. But she'll notice, and then there'll be an apology. Or, and this one's true, no, Twitter is just not the best way in which to hold complex and nuanced discussions. So possibly we're just not seeing what she really thinks. It's getting lost in translation. But as of yesterday, can't say that anymore. So I'm sorry. I'm very sorry to my friends who caught on so much quicker than I did. I am sorry. Because yesterday I read the essay that J.K. Rowling posted on her own website. And there is no longer any denying it. There's no longer any excuses I can make. However much I loved Harry Potter, the fact of the matter is, the author of the series is a TERF. For those of you not up on the lingo, TERF stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. So, not a feminist, a bigot who hates trans people. There's no nice way to put it. It is what it is. So I'm going to tell you what I read in her essay that brought me to my conclusion. First, Rowling devoted a huge chunk of her essay to not apologizing in any way for any of the transphobia or to her fans, but to having a little pity party for herself. This is a standard TERF tactic. It's basically like racists who cry when they get called a racist and claim that you are trying to take away their freedom of speech. Some stupid crap like that. TERFs have to do this. They really do. They need to claim victimhood in some way in order to legitimize their actual discrimination against transgender people, which otherwise, frankly, looks insane. 2, Rowling claims to have done proper research on the transgender community before drawing her conclusions. But when you look at what she lays out, she didn't. It's all clearly cherry picked to support her bigoted notions. For example, she cited a study from 2018 that has since been entirely discredited by a researcher who invented this thing called rapid onset gender dysphoria. Basically, what this researcher was claiming is transgender kids, they're not transgender. It's just a fad and a lot of peer pressure. The study wasn't based on work with any actual transgender kids. The researcher is not an expert in transgender care or even in gender. They just collected opinions and stories from parents they found on anti-trans websites. That's not research, and neither is what Rowling presented there. Third, Rowling repeats two typical turf stories about transgender people. It's not anything new. First, that transgender men are actually women who have been brainwashed into hating themselves, and that younger women must be protected from this. Okay, all I can say to that as an actual transgender person on the masculine side of things is no. And the second story is that greater tolerance for transgender women somehow poses a threat to women and girls in general. This is basically the Scottish version of the American bathroom bill nonsense. The story goes that if transgender women get more recognition with greater ease, men will sneak into bathrooms and other same-sex spaces and attack women and girls. There's a lot of problems with this weird fantasy. First, most sexual assaults happen at the hands of family and acquaintances, not random strangers in toilets. Second, a number of sexual abusers are actually women. Several of the studies that I've seen say that they can establish rates of between 4 and 5%, but abuse by women of children is hugely underreported for various reasons. Like, if an older woman sexually molests a younger boy, especially a teenage boy, people write it off and say, oh, what a lucky boy. He must be a real stud. It's disgusting. Then there's the whole, there's just no evidence to suggest that rapists are only being held in check by paperwork requirements. That's the only thing that's stopping them from going into bathrooms and attacking people. Paperwork. That's so unbelievably insane. I can't even wrap my head around it. Now, Rowling says that her concern derives from the fact that she is a sexual assault survivor. So am I. And as someone who has worked as a peer counselor for many years for other survivors of sexual abuse and assault, I am really upset by the fact that Rowling, instead of using her vast resources to address real problems that lead to and allow and cover up attacks on women and children, instead of doing something, she's instead choosing to attack a group of people who have nothing to do with it, apart from that they also are often the victims of sexual assaults and abuse. I just can't even express to you how frustrating and upsetting that is. Um, she is not protecting women and girls. The bathroom stuff about men sneaking in because transgender women, that's not that's not a thing. There's all kinds of things that are real, but that is not one of them. Fourth, Rowling claims that she's fine with trans women who have undergone medical procedures being in these spaces, though. She's trying to make it seem like she's a little more reasonable. Now, I've heard this argument elsewhere in other guises, and what it comes down to is you can go into spaces for women if you look like a proper woman, if you look like Caitlyn Jenner. Now, there's two things with this. First, it excludes a lot of women and is really reflective of ignorance about the transgender community. Not all trans women want all the things, and this is a really big issue, not all trans women can afford all the things or even have basic access to these procedures. And also, not all trans women, if they get these medical procedures, are going to have perfect medical outcomes and enjoy passing privilege enough to satisfy Rowling or the editors of Vogue magazine. And then there's the second thing. Since when is it J.K. Rowling's job, or anyone else's job for that matter, to police other women's bodies? Because that's what she's doing. And last I heard, that's not a thing in feminism. That's actually kind of one of the opposite things from feminism. Okay? In real feminism, women get to decide what they do with their body. Not with other women's bodies, just their own. The woman who owns that body gets to decide, not J.K. Rowling and a bunch of TERFs. Fifth, Rowling openly embraces, like she don't even hide it. She comes flat out, it's there. And there's no nice way to put this, stupid and anachronistic kind of biological essentialism, which for her means that there will always be a material difference between women and trans women. She devotes a huge chunk of her little essay to it. And that's weird, okay? Because even while she's in there railing against the phrase people who menstruate, one of her recent tweets actually defines women by their ability to menstruate, which suggests that her knowledge of biology is not so good. For example, I used to menstruate, but I'm not a woman. And some women never menstruate. And then there are older cis women. I suspect Rowling may be among them, who have gone through menopause and no longer menstruate. Some cis women are even born without the organs that allow people to menstruate. Now, this kind of thinking, in which women are defined by the possession of a fully functioning uterus, was quite in vogue back in the early modern period. I'm a historian who has read a lot of early modern medical textbooks. That was very much a thing back then. But does it have a place in the modern world? I'm going to go with no. And it, again, has nothing to do with feminism. Sixth, I can't even believe that she did this. Rowling actually does one of the standard bigot two-steps and hauls an anonymous, and I'm going to suggest imaginary trans friend out of the closet to make it look like she has trans friends who don't have a problem with the fact that she is a bigot. It's, you know, such a common bigot tactic. I can't even believe she couldn't come up with something better. Lastly, Rowling gaslights throughout. Gaslights. She continually says, "Oh, I have sympathy for trans women. If only you knew how much sympathy I have for trans women, for transgender people." And then she even like says that she's an ally to trans people, and and I think she did it in a tweet, if I recall correctly. Wrote that if our rights were being threatened, she would be marching right alongside us. You can't have a bigger gaslight. One, there is no if here. The rights of trans people are being threatened and have been for some time. And two, she has not been marching with us. She's been doing the opposite of helping. In fact, her huge platform basically makes her the most influential TERF bigot on the planet. So, yeah, I read her crazy essay, and now I can't make any more excuses for her. So, it's just the perfect, shitty little coated cherry on top of the giant mound of crap that has been 2020 so far. Anyhow, hopefully things will get better, and I will hopefully see you again soon. Bye.